Never do.
Oh, there you go.
We're just curious how things went.
Exciting day. Yeah, I pulled all your hair out, so that's good. We do have an attendee wanting to identify that.
And if anybody here has not signed in the attendance sheet, if you could please sign in, appreciate it.
Oh. Here, I'll do it.
Oh,
Yeah. I just need the code. Yes.
Some concerns.
yeah, right. It's exciting times. Back to COVID time. Yeah.
When I was panicking getting that.
You ready to open the meeting?
Dan's just on his way back. So. Is Melanie's here?
No, it's not. Okay, seeing that it is 6:32, I would like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Selectpersons, February 20th, 2022. And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have been asking people who are joining us remotely to identify themselves. Could the person with the initial J please identify yourself by name so we can add you to the record? You're muted, so we can't hear you if you're talking to us. Can you hear me? The person who is listed as J. We ask your name so we can put you in the record. Okay, well, we can
Take them over in the waiting room.
put the person in the waiting room until. Your schedule. Oh,
Never
gone.
calls.
Gone. Oh, and Paul's. Is there a
Yes,
last-
this is
for
Paul
Paul?
David.
Paul David, but there's also Paul with an apostrophe S.
That's probably Paul Thompson. I'm a resident of 19
Paul
Car
Thompson,
Lane.
okay, you were here last time. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Just making
I'm
sure we
a
have everything
regular.
identified
Thanks.
properly. Thank you. Okay. So I move that we open the meeting of
Second.
February 20th. Second from Carol, thank you. And the first order of business is public comment. Is there anybody who would like to bring something to the board's attention that is not on the agenda for tonight? Tom?
Yes, Tom Dowd, Belgrade. I'm gonna bother to 140 Point Road, which is basically where the alleged Chinese mafia drug house was raided. And the house appears to be unoccupied at this time. And I'm wondering, is that because potentially the Belgrade code enforcement officer has pulled the occupancy permit, or if the town has placed any liens on the property for use of the property other than its legal residence?
I don't know of any liens. What's the address again, Tom?
140 Point Road.
We can check that.
And there's also a house, I believe, in a similar situation on the Gupton Road.
Yes.
but there's no sign of any activity going in and out. Thank you.
Anything else under public comment?
I have a comment.
Anthony?
Anthony Wilson, over taxpayer. Thank y'all for putting all of the articles on the warrant. It's a capital idea.
Okay. Okay, I move that we. I think that's up February 6th,
Second,
2020. Does anybody have any amendments to the minutes?
I didn't see any change.
I did not.
Melanie, do you have anything for the minutes? No? Okay. Moved and seconded, all in favor of accepting, Dan? Carol,
Yes,
Peter,
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes,
And I'll vote yes, so 5 yeses. We also have minutes on the table that were from the executive session of February 13th. Melanie, you probably don't have those. No.
no,
Okay. Shall we go ahead and accept them, or
Yeah, I mean, it's just open.
it's just opening and closing?
I move we accept the minutes from the executive session on February 13th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, Dan?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes,
Peter?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. And Melanie, you probably don't want to vote since you haven't seen them, right?
I would stay because I haven't seen them.
Right. All right, moving on to unfinished business. The first item, I move that we begin discussion of consideration of setting up an ad hoc committee to review ordinances and short-term rentals.
second,
Lorna, would you like to begin the discussion on this?
Sure. For the past couple of meetings, we've discussed, an issue with 142 Woodland. And some of that discussion involved taking a look at our ordinances to see how we could make them stronger. And also maybe looking at short-term rentals. So at the last meeting, the board decided it might be a good idea to set up an ad hoc committee to do those things. And I've given you a list of suggested folks to add to that ad hoc committee. It would be well-rounded folks who know people from the community. So there's a whole list there for you to consider.
Would you like to read the list for the record?
Sure. Code enforcement officer, one person from the planning board, one person from the select board, one person from the Lakes and Natural Resources Committee, one person from the Comprehensive Plan Committee, 2 community members, one person from Seven Lakes Alliance or a lake association who is Lake Smart certified, and 1 local realtor.
So, do you have any comments on that?
I mean, I look at it, it's a committee of 9, my concern or my question would be, I think there's a sense of urgency. So if we're looking to look at this, it should be committee members who are willing to meet fairly regularly, fairly often, so we can move it ahead, so it's not something that's going to take a year to do. That they're willing to sort of get in and dig into it. And I do believe, I saw something where the Lakes and Natural Resource Committee was looking to meet more regularly, so how we coordinate efforts so they're not duplicated in that.
I think, I asked about that. I think they're just having 1 extra meeting. They're still going to meet monthly, but they're having, Pat's here. Can you speak to that?
Correct, we just wanted to kind of, be ready quicker than wait another month before some of us are participating in this.
So you're just adding one extra meeting, you're not gonna meet
Yeah.
regularly twice a month?
Exactly.
Okay.
We could, you know, as needed, we will add another meeting. With the permission.
So Lorna, when we set up the ad hoc, well, first we should see, is the board
That's not what I'm trying to do.
setting up an ad hoc committee? Do we want to take a vote on that first? Or do we want to?
So I have a question,
Yep.
so,
I do not know how to get rid of that.
What?
Oh, sorry.
Hand raised. Oh, sorry.
Apparently I had a clap up there and not a face my hand. And it wouldn't let me get rid of it.
okay,
So sorry about that.
no problem. So the purpose of this ad hoc committee is to review current ordinances and somehow apply that to the possibility of short-term rentals as a topic being managed. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
I think at the last meeting, there were sort of, it seemed as if there were two topics that the group was concerned about. One was the gap between the best practices and the shoreline zoning ordinances. And then the other, which is related, is short-term rental questions. So one possibility would be that the group could divide, as the ad hoc Public Works Committee did, divide up into kind of subgroups to look at those specific issues. That might be one way of doing it. So that's just a suggestion.
Well, they're not gonna review all the ordinances, right? Because it's,
Sure.
you've got ordinances.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
Right, well, I think well, you can speak as to why it was left general, but probably,
I don't think there was anything super specific at the last discussion, the last meeting. It was just the thought that we needed to review anything that would apply to the situation at 142 Woodland. And to see, again, as you mentioned, the gap between best practices and what we have for ordinance now.
right.
To see how we can make it stronger, give it teeth. I think someone said, and then of course, short-term rentals seems to be a hot topic.
that would be,
As
that would be a whole new one.
Yes,
Right,
So basically shoreline.
shoreline zoning and a
And then
possibility,
possibility of a new
right,
one.
sure.
yeah,
And one other thing that was brought up at that meeting was, and I don't know if that falls into shoreline zoning or not, is the wetland, to try to protect the wetlands also.
yeah, that would be under shoreline zoning.
Well, some of your feeders of your wetlands doesn't fall under shoreline zoning, I think that's something that should be highly looked into.
Barbara,
Yes,
so my understanding of setting up this ad hoc committee was not to review ordinances to see if anything we could potentially make applicable to 142. I think that's the CEO's responsibility.
right,
So what I gathered from this and from the time a year or so ago when the short-term rentals were brought to our attention, and at that time they asked if we would consider some sort of a moratorium or something like that on regulating them. So my understanding was that that's what this ad hoc committee was supposed to be doing. Seeing how other towns are handling that. I think I hear an overall concern about losing the character of the lakes as we've known them and generationally. So I don't know that it was using the existing ordinances to penalize anyone. It was strengthening the ordinances and potentially encompassing some short-term rental ordinances or rules of conduct or.
right. Yeah, I think you're right, Melanie. It wasn't specifically to penalize anyone in regard to the issue that's been brought before us, but to look at specifically what the best practices are that Seven Lakes Alliance and various lake associations promote, and to see what the gap is between the best practices and our ordinances, and should any of our ordinances, shoreline zoning in particular, be strengthened, which is a longer process.
Right.
And then the other question was the short-term rentals.
Right.
We have no regulation over them at this point.
We don't know. When it was brought up to us last time, we punted it back. And we
Yeah.
said it could be regulated by the associations and by posting signs but it's clearly not. So,
Right, but that's another question. Does the town want to look at enacting ordinances that would regulate short-term rentals?
right. So it may actually be a two-part thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and for that, and I also want to be sure that we don't plan on having, the ad hoc committee meet just during the day, because that excludes an enormous amount of the population who might be interested in serving.
Sure, and we have related issues too. We have the comprehensive planning committee, which is looking at a lot of issues that could be related to this as well.
Right.
And there's a suggestion for someone from the comprehensive planning committee, but I think it's important for the committee to keep in mind that some of these will be more long-term.
Right. I don't think we're not going to reinvent the wheel by November.
Right,
And
exactly.
definitely not by June.
Exactly.
Conversation that we need to be having and see where do we want to go with it? How stringent do we want to be?
Right. So I guess I would ask the question of Lorna, when we set up the ad hoc public works committee, which was specific to look at, do we need to set up, how are we going to have the roads plowed after the previous contract ran out? And so we put out a call to various people and, citizens to come forward. And so we had, I think there were 11 people altogether.
Several.
And did people contact you to be on the committee? You were the conduit to that?
Some did, but a lot were contacted specifically by some of the board. We had a good idea of folks who were knowledgeable. We used to like Kevin Hawes and the Alexanders and Mike Harrington was on the committee. We had a lot who were involved in that particular business or had something to do with public works, roads.
And who coordinated getting all those people together? Okay, that's what I'm asking. Somebody has to be the cog in the wheel to hold it all together. Because if we're asking for someone, and these are just suggestions, this is by no means a definitive list of, who should be on this committee, but if we're asking for someone from Lakes and Natural Resources, from the comprehensive plan, from the planning board, those are three committees that at their next meeting could ask their members who would like to be on this, is anybody available to be on this committee? And then once we have the members who are available, then we can start to worry about a time for people to meet. Tom?
Question, as a renter, or I've rented my cottage in the past, I'm required to pay sales tax to the state of roughly 9% on the rentals, but I believe if you're essentially a hotel, you would be paying a different level of tax. Does the town of Belgrade have access to who's actually paying essentially short-term and long-term tax on rentals at this point?
If it's a state tax, I don't think that we would have that information. I mean, maybe we could get it. It's probably would be public information, so.
I can't remember whether it lists the location of the property or just the owner.
Yeah.
Well, and Tom, that brings up an issue, and it's one that I think needs looking at. Is when does a rental property become commercial? So if you have a rental property and it's not owner occupied or only owner occupied for a certain percentage of the time, Does that then become a commercial? Therefore, we have a change of use?
Yes.
Does our ordinance do we have ordinances around that? Do we need to look at how we define residential versus, so if someone has property and it's being available to be rented, if it's a year-round property, it's available to be rented, 45 weeks of the year, I mean, or 48, or pick a number, then to me, that is commercial. That's not owner occupied with rental attached to it. If somebody rents part of the time, that's a different story. And I'm sure there are a number of people who have property and they rent it for a month or a few weeks so they can afford taxes and those things. That to me is very different than a property that's rented 100% of the time or most of the time. How do we address that? And I think for me, that's one of the things this committee would look at is
Right.
how do we define
Right.
that? That means we probably have to change, look at definitions and ordinances. If it goes from being a rental property or being rented all the time to
Carol.
commercial, then it has to go back through the planning board.
We're getting off track
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. So
So do we-
that's something that the committee will look into. Yeah, Melanie?
So at this point, are you checking for a vote to see if the board is approving the establishment of this ad hoc committee?
Yes,
If so, I make that motion.
Second.
and Carol seconds.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion from the board? All in favor, Peter?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, so 5 yeses in favor of establishing the committee. And then I would move that we authorize Lorna to organize the committee, that we first work with the committees with the listed groups to
So, Barbara,
establish. Yeah,
sorry, would it be applicable to have at our next meeting a list of what we'd like to accomplish with the committee and then appoint Lorna to be the head up for that? Because we should be deciding as a board what charges the committee would be looking at. So we
Okay.
need to be clear on that before we set it up and start collecting people for it. Does that make sense?
It does to me. I'd like to sharpen the focus
yeah.
myself, so.
Okay, so
I guess my question is, when do we, as a board, want to sharpen that focus? Is this something that if we're gonna sharpen it together, we need to figure out when we're going to do that?
So why don't we
Well,
pick
tonight
one of
or
our,
another-
maybe one of our upcoming meetings where we don't have such a full agenda? Then maybe we can start. It's not so urgent that we have to establish this committee by April. It's important that we set the parameters for it and establish the committee. So maybe, once we get through town meeting and we have a slightly quieter agendas, then we put it there so that we can really spend some time on it.
In the meeting, you can come up with a list of, individually, you can come up with a list of what you want to see.
Mhm.
That way, when we get together, you can start comparing lists.
Yeah, I feel a sense of urgency. I think other people do. I don't know if the board feels a sense of urgency to start getting that together now as opposed to waiting another month, but.
A month isn't gonna make a difference.
Well,
It's just
we've waited 2 years since the last time they requested it. So we're really fast now.
We do need to make some progress on it.
Right.
And I think we can. I wouldn't want to wait too long before we got going. Sharpening
I'd
the
like to
focus
do
would be
it
good.
next meeting, that's.
next meeting, we have the annual meeting, so that would be,
Right, with the moderator.
Oh, meeting with the moderator.
yeah.
Okay.
So settle on the charge, the first meeting after the annual meeting? First meeting in April?
Do we want to do the first meeting in April in case there's any changes on the board makeup? Because we wouldn't want to establish someone in March.
That's what we just said, the first meeting in April.
Oh, I thought you said the first meeting after town, sorry.
Well, that's April.
No,
Okay.
after town meeting,
Oh,
we
after
have a
town,
meeting.
yeah.
Right, not the
Wait,
first meeting after town meeting, the next one.
Barbara,
Yes, Maddie.
Is that okay to have a public comment? I just want to speak, there is a sense of urgency amongst a lot of the folks that are here tonight to get that going. So I just want to add that in there for the public.
Thank you. Understood.
Are you asking for public comment?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thanks.
Maddie had a comment.
Okay. So are we agreed that we will take up the charge of the committee at the first meeting in April?
Yes, I'll make that motion if that's what you're looking for.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Dan,
Yes,
Carol,
No, I would like to do it sooner.
Peter,
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes,
Okay, and I'll vote yes. So 4-1, first meeting in April. Okay,
In the meantime, Lorna, if we have any thoughts, do you want us to run anything to you, or maybe does the board feel we want to get our thoughts together before sharing anything about how we might want to go? I'm just asking because I know I have some ideas about this. Because
to me, if you put together a list, each individual list, if we forward them to Lorna, she can actually take the ones that, with the same thing, come up with a,
yeah,
you know, consolidated list instead of, if you have the same thing as I got, it gets listed once, so.
understood.
but I
Okay.
also think members of the public should be allowed to comment on that too. Right? If anybody from the public has any suggestions for what the charge of the committee should be.
Like, you gotta make it get too complicated, you're gonna drag this thing out farther. Because once you start having the meetings, that's when they start looking at, they'll look a little more than what we come up with for a list. But we just need a place to start.
Well, I think our list will be a focus that will be something that can be flexible and
Right.
movable.
Right.
So that if you get working into it, this is where we're going to start, but you may realize that that committee is gonna go many different directions.
Correct.
Exactly.
Trying to do it, so
Which
as
is
long as it's
exactly what
not
happened with the
with,
public works.
as long as people understand that there is going to be a focus that may need to change
Yeah.
as we
Right.
go along.
Because right now, if we involve the public and you come up with a 2-page list, you're gonna end up with a huge list.
Mhm.
I say, give the committee the basics, let them see where it takes them.
Okay, thank you. I move that we begin discussion of the Workman Field trees.
You need a second.
Yeah.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Thank you.
I wasn't paying
All right.
attention.
Lorna,
So, Dan McGlashing, our Parks and Rec Director, and Jimmy Dion met with the board recently. Spoke about the trees at the Workman Field that needed to come down the roots. Are causing some problems, so we met with RSU 18. And Mr. Gartley agreed to get a cost, get the work done, send an invoice for one half, and that RSU 18 would pick up half the cost. So what we did was Corey got some estimates for the work. So you'll see Hollowell Construction, All Seasons Free, and then planting trees, which was a great idea from Dan Newman. And I circled what they had chosen, the 2.5 to 3 inch maples, 4 of them.
Mhm.
So the total cost to the town would run somewhere around $4,200, $4,250 from this estimate, one half.
Lorna, I have a question about what the, oh, I see. The 2,500 is for taking the trees down. It says cut trees.
Yes, is that All Seasons?
Katie Howell. What it says, and
No, because the 59.80 and 35 cents, that's 14.91 from Hallowell and 44.89 from
So
Native
we
Notions.
estimated 2,500 to have the trees come down and then all of
Okay,
these.
so that's just,
actually.
we don't have an estimate from, that's just a verbal
Right.
estimate.
Yes, the All Seasons actually gave us an estimate. That next one, it's green and white. The last.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay,
Right.
it must have been
Right.
stuff.
But one
So
of the
there-
trees is the libraries,
Correct,
so that's why the library is paying. part of
correct.
it.
So the
I see.
estimate is
That's why
for
the
4
numbers don't
trees,
work.
but there are only 3 trees that the work went to.
Right.
I see, okay. So $25 could be 24, 2,500 could be 24.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, got it. And so then half of the cost would be paid for by the RSU.
Around 40 to 50.
Okay.
And the other money we have in the facilities budget.
No, we would request this to come out of the rec reserve because that wasn't budgeted. Taking these
Register when
trees
that
down.
happened. Okay.
Okay, that's what I was just gonna ask. Which recreation capital reserve are we looking to take this out of?
Dan.
Because
you're on there.
at one point, Dan, we had a capital reserve account or a subsection for hazardous tree removal at the Center for All Seasons. Is that the capital reserve account you're thinking of, and would that be applicable here? They're hazardous trees.
My plan was just to take it out of our rec reserve account. I hadn't thought of the hazardous tree money that we had. I just thought we were gonna take it out of the overall rec reserve because it was at the Kenneth Workman Fields.
Okay. Still have some in the tree removal piece for the recreation center, do we know?
Not that I'm aware of. I honestly just looked at the overall rec reserve account. I totally actually forgot that we had an account for trees, dangerous trees.
Does the rest of the board think if there's money in that piece of it, that would be an applicable? It is still Parks and Recreation. Well, it's not Parks and Recreation facility. It's Kenneth Workman, which is a private organization.
But it's
So
a
the-
town facility.
Right,
Yeah,
the town.
Town owns it.
Right.
Yeah,
the
so it's a town-owned thing that is it's kind of tricky because it's town-owned, but it's managed by K-Wisp, and we're trying to figure that all out kind of as we go. But the idea was that get them removed so that it's not a bigger issue as we move forward. Just try to get ahead of the game.
Yeah, no, I'm ahead of that. I just, depending on what the parameters were when we set that piece up. If it's applicable and there's still money in there and we've taken care of the hazardous trees at the Center for All Seasons, grab it out of that one. Would be my recommendation.
Dan, are all
Yes.
the trees at the Center for All Seasons that are hazardous down, or do you still have some more to go?
We do have some trees that are between the parking lot and the Sadie's property that are gonna have to come down because we need to do some work over there so that the drainage works. Those are the only, I guess, dangerous trees or dead trees that we need removed. The ones that we have near the playground or near the park, those are all, those got taken care of last year when they came in and did all their work.
Okay, so I guess I will make a motion that we approve the Town of Belgrade's portion of the hazardous tree removal at Workman Field to come out of the Board of Parks and Recreation's Hazardous Trees Capital Reserve account, if there's enough money in that account, and if there isn't, that any overflow come out of the regular recreation reserve account.
I like that.
Any more discussion?
No, I was glad to hear Dan was in favor of that approach.
Okay,
So Dana, so.
A good question, Barbara.
yeah.
So which quote are we using?
It's all of them.
It's all of them.
Combined.
you've got to have, Hollowell to take care of the roots and All Seasons to cut them down, and then Native Notions will plant the new.
And then there are 4 trees, but one of them will be paid for out of the library account. So that's why you're seeing 3 in one spot and 4 in the other. Took me a while to figure that out, but.
Okay. I think we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Dan?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes,
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes,
I'll vote yes, so 5 yeses.
Hey, thank you, guys.
thanks, Dan.
Good work. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, move we open discussion of approving the town meeting warrant. Ordinances with the testing and with the ultimate aim of having the tested copies. They're not tested, not show the sun.
right, right.
So I'll second that.
Okay, does anybody have any questions, any clarifications, any typos?
I've read these enough times, but I did not find them.
I know, I
It
didn't.
doesn't mean there's not one in there.
I know, I know. Tom?
Are we allowed a public question?
Sure.
Last year's warrants basically raised through taxes 17%, and the spending increase was 29% on the warrant. So my question is, the warrant that's before us, what would that do as far as spending compared to 2023? And what would be raised through taxes versus essentially undesignated funds?
I don't have those figures in front of me, but the budget is up just over 5% from the previous year.
In terms of spending?
Yes,
And comment there is $500,000 was raised in 2023 for essentially snow plowing. If couldn't find a contractor to do snow plowing, so in the interest of transparency, I don't see where Article 24 from last year is getting reversed. And the $500,000 is coming back basically to the taxpayers. Is the Public Works Capital Reserve account that was established for $500,000, is that cookie jar still a reserve account?
You're talking about Article 25?
Article 24 last year, I believe.
Oh, 24.
so if you look at the warrant this year, Article 25 pulls the 500,000 from the Public Works Capital Reserve. And Article 26 puts that money into the roads capital reserve because we're getting ready for paving next year. So the more that we have in that reserve account that we can pull from, the less we have to finance.
Okay, I
So
apologize.
it'll
I didn't see that.
save some money.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, but that's a great point, Tom, to bring up. So I'm glad we had a chance to talk about it.
And the only other comment I have is on the reserves that are listed under Article 27. It's like the well contamination reserve and things like that. I don't know whether they aren't listed because there's no activity, or I didn't know if, and I think one thing that bothered when I was on the budget committee was reserves sometimes got dropped from year to year, so I don't know how well the town is keeping track of all the reserves, basically, which kind of, you know, talking about the tree reserve, I mean, it brings up the point, is there a listing that of all the reserves? Because I know, like I said, when I was on the budget committee, things did get dropped by accident.
So I think Article 27 is the ones that we're funding this year. Your question is, what is the balance in those other accounts that we're not funding this year?
Correct.
Which,
You should see.
It wouldn't be on the
audit.
warrant, but it would be, is that?
Audit. Audit.
In the
On the
audit.
audit, we'll show that,
Should.
yeah.
We did have it during budgetary time.
I was gonna say,
had
we did
lists
have it done.
every reserve and every account out that we had during the budgetary time, so this year. So we
And-
knew it was active.
Melanie?
And is there a section in the annual report that's going to show those reserves as well?
I would assume that's included every time. I shouldn't assume.
In the audit, was it show in the audit?
Did you just, you all were approving the town report. Did you see a page?
I didn't see it there, I figured it was in the audit, would be where it would, and the audit's not here yet,
No,
so we
No.
need to make sure
No.
that
it's
it's in
usually a
there.
separate page that shows the capital reserves.
Right, but wouldn't that be attached to the audit when they do it?
It's probably in next
Okay,
section.
well, we'll double check it.
Yeah.
We'll have to double check it then, yeah.
And I'll make a note as
Mary,
well.
yeah, Mary looks like she's having trouble connecting to audio.
Oh,
Well, I'm here. It's gonna
You
be,
are-
it's gonna
Oh,
be,
okay.
yeah, it's
okay,
gonna be listed
you.
in the audit report, which we don't have yet, so. So the information will all be in there of all the reserve counts that we have and what the balances are, at the end of, 2023.
Okay, are we ready to vote on this?
No.
Yeah.
Or does it need to vote on this, or do we just
I don't know.
sign it?
I believe you want to vote. Mary, do you need a vote on that? To do
I
the
need-
attested copy?
Yeah, I need a vote to move it forward to, the annual town meeting.
I make that motion.
I second that motion.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Peter?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes,
Dan?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes,
I'll vote yes, so all in favor of moving it forward,
okay,
which means we all have to sign it
tonight,
tonight.
Yeah, it's in the folder.
yeah.
Which we just need Melanie at another time, right? So.
I'll try to come in the morning and sign it.
Okay,
If, yeah, somebody will just have to leave it maybe on the counter because the town office is closed tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll leave it in the main office, Melanie.
Okay, up on the signing counter.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. I'll know right where to look.
all right. All right, good. Moving on to new business. Our first item is the monthly committee presentation, and this week we have Diane Dowd, town historian.
Well, thank you. I'm also representing the Belgrade Historical Society since they're two tied together and I'm the president of Belgrade Historical Society. The society had an absolutely fantastic, outstanding year last year and met all of its goals and objectives. We started off the year very strong at town meeting when we published our book, Images of America, Belgrade Lakes Region. I'm happy to say we sold over almost 300 copies in 1 year. So that's been very successful and very well received by the public. I have all good things to say, so.
Yay, we like to hear big things.
Yeah, we collaborated with the library and Seven Lakes Alliance for several very successful programs. And star of the day is that the renovations were completed on the Old Town Meeting House. And we were able to hold several open houses during the summer, which we plan to do going forward. There'll be open houses for the summer this year. It can also be viewed as by appointment. For 2024, we'd like to add a heat pump to the back of the building to allow us to prolong the season that the Old Town House can be used for. That would be you from the funds from the Historical Society, and we've already talked to Dan McKenzie about doing this. But that has to come up to the board since any changes to the building have to be approved by you. And we'd also like to, have a porta potty available at the rear of the building. I talked to Corey Alexander about this, that the society would take care of the rental for it. And, it would be for use not only for programs and people visiting the townhouse, but also for cemetery workers and visitors to the cemetery, because there's nothing up that end of the area there. And we hope to have all that ready for Memorial Day. We'd like to be able to have the townhouse open after Memorial Day services, when we're going to have a display on veterans this year. So, the third thing that we'd like to accomplish this coming year will be a sign on the hill, a double-sided sign, that will say that it's the Belgrade Old Town Meeting House and the year it was established. A lot of people ask me where the townhouse is. People then ask me, well, what's that white building at the cemetery? So we'd like to have a sign that can be seen from both sides as we go up and down. And again, that would be on the society. I'd like, at this point, my plan is to have it be a similar size and design as the Welcome to Belgrade signs. And, like I said, it's all good.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great to have that building open and to see the displays, and I know that there've been a lot of people.
Yes,
who've
I
been
think we've
interested in
gotten
it.
a lot of interest from the town folk. We've gotten a lot more donations, which are currently stored at the Dalton property garage. Everybody seems to be very happy with what we've done. We've had a lot of comments, so we'd like to keep that ball rolling now that we got some momentum going. Thank you.
Super. Appreciate all that you and the members of the Historical Society do. You as historian and your whole group.
Great job. Thank you so much.
Long
The
time
book
coming.
is really beautiful.
Yeah, the book is
It's
beautiful.
quite impressive.
Yeah.
And so for people who are still interested in getting the book, do they contact you?
Yes.
Cash, checks?
Yep.
Okay.
Venmo.
We're working on that, right?
PayPal.
Square.
Yeah.
We are working on that. We're close.
So Diane, I want to give you absolute kudos because there had been some stagnation and stuff, with the townhouse renovations and things like that. So I want to give credit where credit is due. Your enthusiasm is infectious. And I appreciate that because that really is the kind of breath that needs to go in there. So, because we have to preserve that. I mean, I just found out the other day that Bill Pulsifer was right, and the old fire station used to be underneath the North Belgrade Community Center when it was a school. I was like, I had no idea. How did I not know that? So that's all the stuff that we've got to maintain for our history. And I also think having a porta potty up in that section of town is also a fantastic idea. So I'm super psyched that you folks thought about that.
Thank you. It wasn't just one person. It's always, takes a team.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You folks are just doing a tremendous job. And I thank you immensely.
Yes.
Thank you on behalf of all of us. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So next we have Lynn Mattson. Will
Thank you.
talk to us about the Village Green.
These two ladies are terrific, and you're gonna hear they were involved in another project that I'm gonna talk about here in a minute. I've actually got two things I want to talk about. They'll both be very quick and easy, not asking for any approvals or any funding, so that should make it make it easy, right? The first one is the Village Green. And before I get into what I'm here for, I just want to thank all of you for your support on the Village Green. When Phyllis and I put that project together way back in 2015, when we started, I came before this board and kind of expressed our vision which was to make it a real part of the community, a venue that would hold activities and events and so forth. And I really appreciate your support on activities like the concerts and the craft show, because that's exactly what we envisioned. So your support has been key in making that happen. And also a shout out to Corey and his team for the absolutely beautiful job they're doing of maintaining it. All summer long, it looks great. They're cleaning up the leaves in the fall. So they've done a really great job and I appreciate that. All right, here's what I'm here tonight to talk about in terms of the Village Green. When I was here the very first time I talked about it in 2015, I promised that Park would have some things in it, like a gazebo and the seat wall with the designers or the architects came up with, the pump station, a parking lot, and all those things were done except one. We talked about a historical marker, historical panel. And the reason that was important to us is because that property that the Village Green sits on was part of the original Belgrade Hotel. And we wanted to keep that part of the history alive and present it as part of the Village Green, right?
Yeah.
Right. So at the time, the state offered their help with that. And we said, great. Well, it took a little patience because I think that was like in 2018, we got around to that point. They really have one gentleman who does the design for their historical panels, and he had a pretty good backlog. But he got to us about 18 months ago, and we've been working on this through lots of meetings, lots of hours. And Diane and Sharon really put the time in and digging through the files to find some wonderful pictures of the old Belgrade Hotel, so it could be related back to the Village Green today. We worked through several revisions with Larry, who's the fellow from the DOT, and came up with a final panel that we want to put in the Village Green. And I'm going to give each of you a copy of it. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Melody, I'm sorry I didn't have one for you. We'll leave one in the office for you here, okay?
You're muted, Mel.
You can pass that one around.
Is there any way, can we hold it up to the meeting owl?
That I've got, this is the actual size I'm gonna hold up here.
Okay.
So that's the size of the actual panel that will go in the Village Green. You're looking at smaller versions of it, but I think you can see with the pictures that Sharon and Diane found through the files and the copy and the wonderful layout that Larry did for us, it really is a beautiful way of telling the story about the Belgrade Hotel and the fact that it occupied the property where the Village Green is now. So this is just for your information. The panel is going to be produced by the state at no cost to us, which is great. It will sit on a stainless steel frame and be mounted on 2 granite posts. And we'll pay for that cost. So I mean, as I say, no cost to the town.
And so where will it be located, by the gazebo?
Good question. Thanks, Barbara. Next piece here. If you notice up in the subhead, right in the top of it, it says across the street, I think, doesn't it say, what does it say, across the street? Across the street from this location, once stood one of Maine's most beautiful lake resorts. So the idea is to put it along the gravel path. So when you're looking at the panel, you're looking right across it where the hotel was located. And I think that's a logical place to put it. It'll be where people walk up and down that path and out of the way.
Yes.
Very nice.
So hopefully that'll go in sometime this spring or depending on when the state gets it produced for us. Any questions?
And when the snow goes away that we haven't had yet.
Yeah,
When the snow goes away,
Right.
we haven't had yet.
right.
So Barbara, we will still need a motion from the board to approve the installation of the sign because the town owns the park now. So we still would have to make a motion to approve that.
Would you like to make that motion, Melanie?
I would love to.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor, Dan?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so 5.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much
Yep,
for
yep.
all your work on this.
You bet.
And for the very generous gift of the.
I think that actually we could put a panel like this in a couple other places in the town, you know, down by the Peninsula Park where the mills were, to tell the story of the mills. So if the state be willing to continue to do that, I think it'd be nice enhancements for the village.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe North Belgrade as well.
Kind of a history walk and drive.
The history walk.
The other thing I want to touch on real quick, is just to give you an update on the Village Green parking lot. And we've been here in doing this as a member of the board of the Friends of Belgrade Lakes Village. We were here not too long ago and worked with the planning board and with this select board to get approval to go ahead and construct that parking lot. So I just want to tell you where we are today from the last time we met. The property was purchased and closed on January 30th. So the Friends now owns the property. We've engaged a landscape architect. His name is Pat Carroll. He's the same one that did the Village Green, to come up with a landscape plan and help us deal with the trees that are in between the park and the parking lot site. We thought it's important to have some integrity, visual integrity between the two entities, since they're all going to be part of one project when it's done. Pat Carroll has come up already and marked the trees we want to keep in that area between the parking lot and the Village Green. They're marked with tape, and Lauren has been out there, and Corey's been out there, and Hans has been out there, and Kevin was there. So they know what the plan is. When the chainsaws start, you probably may get some calls, just so you know that they've taken a look at it. Your contractor, Allstate Tree Company, is going to actually start taking the dead trees down, and the ones that are overhanging the parking lot, they're going to be a problem. And I think they're going to actually start later this week. We've got a contractor, or bids have gone out for a contractor to remove the storage buildings. And those bids are due by the end of this week. And then the next step will be to put bids out for the construction of the project itself. All the contractors will be DEP approved and have insurance at least $1 million for one occurrence and $2 million for total coverage. And we'll hopefully get construction going as soon as the weather permits this spring. Any questions there? Okay, thank you.
No questions. I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you've done. It's a very thoughtful and comprehensive look at this. So from my perspective, just thank you for doing.
You're welcome.
It's very generous.
They did, I think they did a beautiful job with it, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
a really good looking panel.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And if they're gonna consider doing some more over, definitely something for North Belgrade, but maybe something down by the depot or where the old train station.
Where
is.
the train station is, yeah.
Yeah, even if they have to place it across the stream.
Yeah.
Looking at Hammond Lumbers over the little park. that
Right,
we have.
Yeah. I know we can get good pictures. Sharon and Diane did a great job at putting this together, and without the pictures, this wouldn't be anything,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Really nice. Thank you.
I did get a quote today for the trees, to be removed. These all seasons split it up, the trees for Friends Belgrade Lakes, 1,600, and the estimated cost for the town of Belgrade, 4,800 to remove those trees that are there on the end of the Village Green up next to where the parking lot will be.
And I think some of those, I talked to Corey, some of those, the Friends are still the Friends trees, needs to come down. So that needs to be negotiated a bit.
Okay.
So this might not be the final figures as far as.
Right.
Okay. We can wait.
That would-
Yeah.
While I'm thinking of trees, glad you have mentioned trees on the west road. The west road. Between where Jason Stevens is working and Castle Island Road, on the same side of the road, about halfway. There's a huge tree, looks like a pine, about that big around. The top is sheared off. And it's dropped down about the height of the power lines, and it's hanging in the trees. And We gotta look at that, because I'm afraid that thing might come down at some point and shoot right over the road.
I'll get a hold of Jason.
All right, Anthony. Comprehensive Plan Implementation Oversight Committee.
I'm gonna move up to the front row. I got a fresh haircut like it. So, some of you may not know or realize, but the comp plan committee is given a report annually to the select board. We haven't done that over the last couple of years, but we're back. And first, I want to introduce the other members of the committee. So online, we have Dee Cook, who is with us. There's Dee. And we have Pat Donahue. This is only his 7th or 8th committee. In town that he's on. Kimberly Dallas. And then we also have, hopefully you're gonna approve his appointment tonight, because he's already attended some of our meetings and been really helpful, Dan Zaglinski. And the other member of our committee is Joy Intriago. So she is not here this evening, but we could use more members, because it's really important if you're gonna have a good comp plan in order to have lots of engagement from the community. So the first thing I want to note is that a lot from the 2014 plan has been accomplished. And Belgrade can be really proud of that fact. I mean, you guys know I'm the town manager in Winthrop, and Belgrade accomplished a lot more from its plan than Winthrop did from its plan. So kudos to Belgrade. And in particular, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the work of 3 people, particularly on the comp plan committee in the past. And that's George Seal, Mary Vogel, our town clerk, and also Kathy Wall, who previously served on the select board. Because they were real stalwarts on the committee, and they met every single month and held town officials and boards and committees accountable for the things that they were to accomplish within the plan. So without the work of those 3, I don't know that we would have accomplished as much as we did. Having said that, I think some folks need to be pointed out as really helping to move the plan forward. First and foremost, our planning board, which in my opinion gets way too much guff, because they do a lot of really hard, difficult technical work. And we accomplished a lot when it came to land use regulation in the last plan, and that's mainly because they rewrote a 100-page subdivision ordinance that was 30+ years old, and they also updated the commercial development review ordinance. And so those 2 things alone resulted in a lot of accomplishments from the comp plan. So Peter, of course, chaired the board that whole time. But again, folks like George Seal and Craig Alexander and so forth, great work by those guys getting those ordinances in shape. I also think we're in a lot better place when it comes to code enforcement as a result of Hans being part of the team. And so I have found him to be extremely knowledgeable and diligent in his work. And as George Seal would often say, the permits that the planning board issues aren't worth the paper that they're written on if they're not being enforced, and if contractors are not being held accountable for the conditions that the planning board puts on them. And I think there's a lot of confidence that that is being done now. The Belgrade Historical Society, I mean, as we've already talked about, their crowning achievement was the renovation of the old townhouse. And so in the cultural and archaeological and historical chapter, a lot of things were accomplished, and that's largely the work of the Historical Society. Fellow who was on our meeting earlier this evening, Dan McGlashing, has brought a lot of life and vitality to the recreation program. And so a lot when it comes to cultural events and recreation in our community has been accomplished just over the last couple of years, just by Dan's enthusiasm and energy and passion. And then lastly, there's been a lot of work done by the committee that Pat chairs, the Lakes and Natural Resources Committee, along with Seven Lakes Alliance and the town's 3 lake associations, to protect our most important natural resource, those being our lakes. So the work of all of those groups, all those people right there, helped to forward the plan since it was adopted in 2013. Now, not everything in the plan was accomplished, and that's fine, because at the time, ideas that seemed like good ideas ended up not being terribly realistic. And that's fine. The plan should be aspirational. in nature as opposed to regulatory. But that means that not everything is going to be accomplished, and some of the things that are mentioned in the plan were accomplished outside of the town, and some of those things are best left to other entities, and again, that's well and good. So, I think one of the things that the committee talked about is being mindful of not backsliding on any of the progress that has been made. And so the fact that you're looking at reviewing ordinances is a good thing to make sure we don't go 30 years between updating a land use ordinance like we did with the subdivision ordinance. I also think we've got to make sure we're doing a great job of communicating what's going on in the town's government, because a lot of work has been done to have a good website, to increase the communications. And I've talked about a lot of good things that's happened with the town. Now I'm going to mention something that wasn't so good. And that was that people were left in the dark last year about the revaluation. And then when they got their tax bills, it was sticker shock because nothing was communicated to folks about that happening, and people were surprised by it. And so I think we just got to be mindful to be proactive and letting folks know what's going on. And one of the great ways to do that is you've got a website, make full use of the alerts on that website outside of your urgent notices that go out. All your agenda items, all your minutes, all your news items, you can send alerts with those. And those are great ways to keep people in the know. So a comp plan has a lifespan of about 10 years. We're at the 10 years, and you folks approved a contract with KV-COG for the updating of the plan. And so the comp plan committee is meeting once a month in order to accomplish that. And everyone becomes really hyper-focused on the chapters of that plan. And I'm here to tell you that's not the meat of the plan. The crux of the plan are the tables of policies and strategies. That's what this group is going to be going back to year after year to see if things have been done by the implementing parties and the timetables that are established in the plan. And so if you're going to really delve into the plan, make sure that you look at the policies and strategy tables, because that's the crux of the plan. The comp plan committee views its role as one of support and facilitation and assurance that the town citizenry is adequately engaged. The best description of a comp plan that I've heard is from the Reedfield town manager, a wicked smart guy who said, the comp plan committee drives the bus of the comp plan, but you only go where the citizens tell you to. And so it's critical that we have community participation and engagement as we're working on the plan. And so, you know, we view our role as support. The KV-COG planner and the town manager should be performing the heavy lifting of actually writing the plan. And the select board has a role to play as well. And that is to make sure that you familiarize yourself with the plan, you engage in the update process, and you encourage your neighbors to do the same. So we look forward to collaborating on a really solid plan for Belgrade again. And hopefully something a lot is going to be accomplished from. And with that, we're happy. Oh, so in what you have received, you'll see a bit of a matrix that we created, just showing the progress on each and every recommendation within the plan. You can see for yourself the things that were accomplished, the things that were in progress, and the things that were not in progress. I'm not going to belabor the point there. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
You don't want to go through every single one of these?
These folks don't want us to go through everything.
No,
I know you're here to talk about the completion of the implementation of the last plan, but can you just talk a little bit about how citizens will be involved over the coming year in the plan?
So again, this is a matter of communication from the town and getting the word out. We're meeting monthly. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about the policies and strategies as they relate to housing, which is a critical issue in our community and statewide, and in transportation. And so last month, we talked about economic development, and we talked about historical and archaeological resources. And I'm glad that that Diane was there for that, and Tom actually had some good ideas as well, believe it or not. So it's really incumbent upon you guys to let the community know that we're meeting on a monthly basis and we want people to come and participate. And two, this is something that so Winthrop is rewriting its plan as well, and this is something we've had some success in, and that when we know there are particular people in the community who have particular expertise on one of the chapters that we're looking at, we invite those people to come and participate in the conversation. And 9 times out of 10, if you ask someone to do something like that, they'll actually come. But left to their own devices, it will never dawn on them to do so.
And there will be, once all the chapters are finished, once all the chapters have policies and strategies, then there will be public forums. For people to,
Yeah, but we'd like
Put in
people's
mind.
help before that even to.
Yeah, no,
to
absolutely,
shape
absolutely.
to shape the recommendations.
yeah, absolutely.
So when are the meetings? You said tomorrow, so they're Wednesdays?
So we meet on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, 5:30 PM in this room.
And the meetings are very interesting.
So, and again, housing is such a critical issue. So if you think you have something to contribute to that conversation, come tomorrow night and let's engage in the conversation.
Thank you. Any questions, further questions for Anthony? What's the name of the board?
It's the Comprehensive Plan Committee.
It morphs, right? Now it's the comprehensive plan committee because they're updating the comprehensive plan. Then after the plan is completed, then they become the comprehensive plan implementation oversight committee.
Yeah, which is a
But it's-
mouthful.
And then that goes on until then they start working on the next plan in another 10 years.
And just so everyone knows how that implementation oversight works is the committee meets every month. And we might say, okay, we're going to look at the recommendations as they relate to agriculture this month. And so we'll call in whomever is responsible for that. So as town manager, I attended a lot of those meetings. The code enforcement officer attended some of those meetings. We invited planning board members at times. And so just to bring in people, because the plan also identifies who's responsible for each recommendation and the time frame in which they should be addressing. Accountability.
Okay.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for that enthusiastic. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I move that we discuss appointments and resignations.
Second.
Oh, Tanya. Tanya. Tanya, will you stay to be appointed?
I asked him, I should say, and he said, yeah. Yes, I thought so.
Who'd you ask?
Who'd you ask?
Who did you ask?
All right. First up, we have Dan Selinsky. I move that we approve Dan's appointment to the Comprehensive Plan Committee.
Second.
Okay, Dan, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in the Comprehensive Plan Committee?
Sure. It was my partner who brought me into Belgrade in 2014, and it's such a wonderful place. I have an architecture background, and I work for an architect right now out of Lincolnville, and work from home 4 or 5 days and go in the office. Belgrade is wonderful. I live in the Great Pond, and I couldn't ask for a better place to be. It's beautiful, and let's preserve it. Let's make it fantastic. Let's make it grow. Let's make it grow smart. Let's make it grow beautiful. Everyone in this room, who I've heard in this meeting today, is promoting that and supporting that. So I'm on board to help along with that. I can provide a resume if you want to for my background, but I'm very happy to be here and I'm very happy to help this time.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
All in favor? Dan?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Okay, all vote yes, so 5 yeses, thank you. And
Thank you.
I know that Anthony's gonna keep you busy.
Pretty big break.
I know, yeah, yeah.
There's a great deal of work with this comprehensive plan that will then become another comprehensive plan committee. So, having been on it before, I can speak from experience. I appreciate the enthusiasm and the willingness to dig in now.
Yes,
We will benefit later.
yes, yes, and I want to see it come to fruition, so.
And Dan, just so you know, to make it official, you'll have to stop in any day but Wednesday
Right,
to see Mary Vogel and get sworn in.
okay, I'll do that.
Okay,
And thank you, Mary.
okay. I move that we approve the appointment of Tanya Athanas to the Lakes and Natural Resources Committee. Second, okay, Tanya, you have the floor if you want to tell us a little bit.
I practically was born in Belgrade. I've lived in the same spot on Mesalansky for, since I was about a year old, a lot older than that now. And I ran the green spot in, Waterville for years. And, so I know a lot of people and I feel that, this time in my life, I have some time, so I thought I would volunteer to be on the lake committee. And I was prompted by my next door neighbor, Jenna Townsend, to do that, and we kind of work together on things, so it'll be a nice thing for me to do.
Great, and you're actually coming on as a representative of the Friends of Mesalansky. So specifically Mesalansky, interest in Mesalansky, but I mean, all townwide.
Yes.
Yeah, super, thank you. All right, we have a motion in a second. All in favor, Dan?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so 5 yeses. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And be sure to see Mary Vogel any day but Wednesday to get sworn in.
All right, terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. for
You
your-
want to say no?
What's that?
You want to say no?
No,
When we don't have a good candidate.
Hey, thank you.
thank you in advance, Bob.
Thank you.
See you, Pat.
And I'll work hard too, so.
Great, great. Okay, so ballot clerks, do we have to approve these one by one, Mary, or do we approve them as a group?
You can approve them as a group.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. I move that we approve the following ballot clerks for the annual town meeting 2024. Cheryl Cook, clerk counter. Judy Johnson, ballot clerk and counter. Frank Hagan, ballot clerk and counter. Joan McKenzie, ballot clerk and counter. Regina Coppins, ballot clerk and counter, and Kelly Webster, ballot clerk and counter.
Second.
Okay, oh, thank you. Second. Okay, all in favor?
Yes, yeah, like they were doing during COVID for.
Dan?
Restaurant menus and stuff.
You wanna come in and vote? No, okay, all right. All in favor? Carol?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so, and we're voting on ballot clerks, approving ballot clerks for town.
I'll do the phone today. That's all I have.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So 5 yeses. Thank you to all the ballot clerks.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And the reason I stepped up. Since he's doing the signs and stuff, I asked him if they consider, especially when they're gonna place more signs, it's possibly putting a QR code down by those signs. And having a written history, and also maybe somebody could do a recorded version where it would be listened to.
Mhm.
Describing the area, you know, what went on in this area, when the hotel was built, with a
Yeah,
barn,
good idea.
and that way.
That's
Good idea.
they-
like that history walk.
Right, so if they can research that, they're using the QR codes for the Snowmobile Trail and that maps and everything else, so
Yeah,
there should
good
be a
idea.
way to do it.
Yeah.
Good idea.
And using the cemetery.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, I move that we open discussion of the TAN bids.
Second.
Lorna,
So we received several, I put that whole list, there.
Yeah.
The low, rate is Camden National at 5.51. We did have a couple of others that indicated if we had a banking relationship with them, they would offer a different rate. So I indicated that, First National Bank would give us 5.4, but we must establish a substantial deposit relationship with them. Skowhegan Savings Bank, the same, they were a bit higher though, 6.25%. If we move accounts over, 6.75% if we don't. So the recommendation would be to go with Camden National Bank, 5.51%.
I move we accept the bid from Camden National Bank at 5.51 for our team.
Okay, we actually have a proposed vote in the book.
Oh,
Oh, yes, is that in here?
Yes.
Did you
Yes.
get in? Okay.
Okay, so shall I read that? Voted by so this is what we would vote for. That under and pursuant to Title 30A, Section 5771 of the Maine Revised Statutes as amended and supplemented, there be and hereby is authorized the issuance of $2 million principal amount of tax anticipation note of the town in anticipation of the receipt of taxes for the municipal fiscal year, which commenced January 1, 2024 and ends December 31, 2024. Number two, said note shall be dated February 27th, 2024, shall mature on December 20th, 2024, shall be signed by the treasurer and countersigned by the chair of the select board, shall bear interest at the rate of 5.51% per annum, shall be payable at Camden National Bank in Augusta, Maine, and otherwise be in such form and bear such details as the signers may determine. Three, that said note is hereby sold and awarded to Camden National Bank. Four, said note is hereby designated a qualified tax exempt obligation of the town for the 2024 calendar year pursuant to the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. Five, that all things heretofore done and all action heretofore taken by the town, its municipal officers and agents in the authorization of said note are hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed, and the treasurer and chair are each hereby authorized to take any and all action necessary or convenient to carry out the provisions of this voting, including delivering said note against payment therefore. So, would you like to?
I second that.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, Dan,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, so 5 yeses in favor of Camden National Bank,
Okay.
as Carol said in a nutshell.
Yeah.
All right, so the next item is, I move that we discuss consideration of moving the March 5th meeting to March 4th or 6th.
Second.
Lorna?
So your first meeting in March is the 5th. It's the first Tuesday. However, that is primary voting day.
Oh, yeah.
We had originally scheduled Christian to meet with the board to review the warrant, assign who's talking about what piece, answering questions. And Mary and I were talking about it. We're like, oh my goodness, that's our first meeting. We need to move that because Christian would not be available.
Right, he's the election board.
Correct. So, options would be to either meet Monday, the 4th, or Wednesday, the 6th of that.
Either day is fine with me.
I'm flexible.
I think either day is fine with me.
Do you have a preference?
No, at this point I don't.
Melanie?
I'm actually going to be out of town Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of that week. If we all want to be there, I could do Thursday when I'm back.
Thursday is.
Planning board is here.
Planning board. in
Yes.
Well, as long as you have a quorum, you can do it without me.
Okay,
Dan, are you? What's best for you?
That file doesn't really matter. Monday's April Fools.
no, March,
No, March.
March, before town meeting.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one after.
No. March fourth. I guess I'd vote for March fourth, since it's Monday
And
and
get it
town
out of
office
the
is
way.
open, and also in case there's a blizzard, that gives us Wednesday as maybe a backup in case we
Oh, I see.
need it.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
And, so it's 6:30 on Monday? Is 6:30 good for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I move that we move the March fifth meeting to March fourth at 6:30 PM.
Second,
All in favor, Peter?
Yes.
Dan?
Yeah.
Carol?
yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so 5 yeses. All right, anything under other business?
Ken has asked, I put a sticky note on the front of this, sign paperwork, folder. He mentioned that last year for annual town meeting, employees could not attend in-person town meeting and participate, so he has made the request this year that the transfer station be closed the 16th, which is the Saturday, so that employees could attend open town meeting and participate.
So close the entire day.
I would assume he could probably be open a while. But we start town meeting at 1, so.
1.
Yeah.
And he has his show to set up, he sets his.
Right, he
show.
sets
I
up,
should say that, his board and. all of his Informational, so,
Booth.
so that would take,
That takes an effort for him to do that, right? So.
well, he would have to be there, and then you have employee, it's not like just one person, it's the other employees who live in the town who can't come to town meeting because they're working.
Have we closed the transfer station on Saturday before?
I do not.
Or
Not like we have a blizzard or something. I mean, it's really an inconvenience to the companies and stuff in.
It's your busiest day, especially a commercial home.
Right.
Could we close it at 11 or 12? Keep it open at least for. It
For the
opens at-
morning,
It
let
opens
people
at
know.
7, right? 7.
Yeah,
We're open from 7 to 11. That gives 2 hours before 10.
or 7 to 12.
7
for
to
that
12.
matter.
I thought there was somebody outside.
I mean, I'm fine with doing that, I don't know. What are the rest of you? But if we're to do it, we need to post it and let everybody know that on the 16th that we'll be closing it noon or
Noon.
whatever time we choose.
At least that gives the whole morning.
Does give your hollers,
I'd rather have it open part of the day than none of the day.
yeah.
Me too, Dan.
My thoughts too.
Yeah.
I know I rely on Saturday.
Mhm.
Cause I can't get there
Do you think
before.
noontime would work, Mel?
I think noontime would work because that would give them an hour to get over there. And that would give residents from 7 AM till noon. So if we put it on their sign, our sign, the Facebook page, the website, we've tried to do as much notification as we can.
Why don't we possibly think about opening an hour early that day too? That way, if they've got things they've gotta get done over there while they're there. That they normally do while the people are coming in and going and everything else, people still probably have to show up for that hour early, but at least it gives them an hour that they can get some of their stuff done.
Would we need to check with Kenny to make sure he can get people there that.
It puts a little bit more of a burden on the employees to be at the transfer station earlier than
7.
7.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If they want their hours.
Right,
That's true.
well, maybe
I mean,
let
we
Kenny
approved
manage that if they want their
we
extra
Close
hours.
early or close for the day, we're supposed to be open the next day, so that would be Sunday, so if they came an hour early, that would get them closer to the full day.
So just shift everything 1 hour.
At least should give them the extra hour.
That's a good point too.
Is there anyone who would stay there to keep the transfer station open and not have to go to town meeting?
Only two that are non-residents, I believe, that work there.
Yeah.
Aaron,
Is it-
Aaron and
Maybe
Yeah.
doing the recycle center.
Aaron and Andy?
No.
No,
Andy's a
Andy.
Belgrade resident.
Andy would be- So it'd just be the two people up in the recycling building who don't live in town.
Correct.
I think Chris lives in town. Chris Cogswell.
Oh, yes, he does.
He lives
That's
in
right.
He
town.
does.
So I think
Right,
it's only Aaron.
It's only Aaron.
It's only Aaron.
yeah, so only Aaron.
Yeah.
Now, if we're open, Bruce, if we're open for more than half a day, then we don't have to offer the following day.
Correct.
Right.
So if we're open from 7 to noon, that's 5 hours. And we'd only be shorting 3 hours on that one day, so it wouldn't mean that we'd have to do a carryover, right?
Right.
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 There may be one commercial hauler that's not gonna make it in. By noon. That's
Would
the only
we,
bad
would we
thing,
be
but-
able to make a decision based on, Ken's input about opening at 6 as opposed to opening at
Yeah,
7?
I'd like to give them the option if they wanna open an hour early.
Yeah,
Um,
and we can promote it, on the website and
Right.
Facebook and everything, so.
Right.
But it's just a question of whether, if they're there for an hour early, would they wanna have people coming to drop things off?
Or would.
Or would
I-
they?
But I think even opening that hour early, I don't think you're gonna get as many people in.
No.
No,
But I think if it would give them a chance to do some of the stuff they gotta do and get done, so they don't get swamped the next time they're there.
Mhm. Okay,
So
Why don't we leave it up to Kenny to
Yeah.
see?
we'll go 7 to noon with the option if they
Seven.
wanna go 6 to.
7 to noon, unless
They wanna do
Right.
they
6 to-
wanna start at 6 and that would be okay with us.
Yeah.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay.
That
great.
your
All in
motion,
favor?
Dan?
It's the motion and second. Okay, Peter,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Melanie,
Yes,
all vote yes, and we'll leave it up to Ken whether they open at 6 or 7.
they want the extra hour to get paid, it's.
Right.
They're losing money.
Okay. Warrants. Here we go.
Could we take one?
2-minute break? Yes,
Yeah.
I could use a 2-minute break. Miss.
We're gonna take a 2-minute break, Mel.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody ready for warrants?
Yes.
All right. I move that we approve payroll warrant 20 in the amount of $20,000, $20,294.63.
Second.
All in favor? Peter,
Yes.
Carol,
Yeah.
Dan,
Yes,
Melanie?
Yes,
All vote yes, 5 yeses. I move that we approve BMV warrant 21 in the amount of $17,812.27.
Second.
All in favor, Peter,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Dan,
yes,
Melanie?
yes,
All vote yes, 5 yeses. I move we approve AP warrant 22 in the amount of $70,130.71.
Second.
Any questions?
yes.
Melanie?
The first one under LLCs and tree removal is location road hazard trees. So I wanted to check to see what those trees were. 2011, there was a tree removed. What's up?
They're large pines.
Right, so large pines on the location road. In 2011, there were some issues with hazard trees on the location road. And our tree committee, the entire committee actually resigned. And the town and the board were sued. after that. So are these the same trees? And does anyone,
I can answer that, 'cause I drove up there, I did a service call up today, they're all gone. Every tree.
so all of those trees that were on private property and that Maine DOT stated were not in the town's right of way and that we could not cut those trees down? Those are gone?
It must be a new owner because they contacted the office and I sent Jason out to measure. Jason measured 20 feet from the middle of the road.
All I know is every tree on that property, along that property is gone.
Okay.
Is our 20 feet on the location road?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so.
I'm not sure, but somebody got to look in the roads, but I don't think it is. I think that's why the town got sued over this is because of that.
Because one of the trees was taken down without the homeowner's permission and it was done outside of the tree committee's permission giving. And the contractor took it down on their own.
The owners are the ones who contacted the office. So
Okay.
I'm guessing that the property has been sold.
Okay.
That's fine, but we may still not have been responsible for those trees.
And I guess because I was gonna question it too, I guess my question is there was only one tree that was bad, the rest of them wasn't bad, so why are we removing trees for somebody?
Jason said that they were all dangerous trees, ready to come down.
And if they're on personal property, though, it is the property owner's responsibility to remove those trees and pay that bill.
I believe Jason felt they were in the town's right away because they were 20 feet from the middle of the road.
And is the town's right away 20 feet from the middle of the road or 35? But if they're closer to that, I just want to be sure that this isn't going to be the case where this is going to come back and bite the town. Because there's a history of those trees in that location. So I don't,
let me.
yeah,
How would
I
you
don't,
like
know-
me to-
yeah, I don't know what we do with it now because the trees are down. But
Right.
this is one of those where I guess if we'd had an email that said, Jason's, the homeowner contacted about these trees on the location road, that it may have triggered a response from the board who remembers that 4-year-long saga. And it was a full 4 years. So, hopefully everything is okay, but I would like for us to make sure that those trees were the town's responsibility to take down and not the homeowners. I just don't want for us to get sued about this again.
Agreed.
And Melanie, why did we get sued the first time?
Because we took down a tree on private property that they didn't want, I believe.
Right, and then this whole line of trees is right, it's the same, it's a whole line of trees, I mean, it's a good section, I think it was 8 trees or 10 trees, and they weren't small trees, and like I said, it was only, he drives by it every day, there was only one tree that was in jeopardy. The rest of them, yes, they're big, but in my eyes, it wasn't the township.
And they weren't part of the blowdown and the storm.
That just one of them, the top is blown off on one of them.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's what I assumed it was trees that came down in the storm.
I mean, if we could classify every tree along the side of the road, a dangerous tree, But I just, I was shocked, I drove up there, did a service call today, I'm like, wow, and then then I saw the warrant, and it's like, okay.
I'll have to go look.
So,
Yeah,
so we should,
yeah, you ought to look at it.
Is it before you get to Mary's?
Yep, it's the first house on the right.
Oh.
So we should determine if these trees are on private property or on the town's
I mean, if they were-
responsibility.
I mean, my assumption is Jason would have taken them down if he would have determined they were the town's responsibility, but I don't know that.
And by the court, in the court, it was determined that was the landowners with trees. Because we got sued over, it. The town got sued over. it. And that's in the same line as, but again, I don't know how you guys can go back and ask the landowner to pay for it at this point, because we authorized the town's contracted tree service to go do it, so.
Yeah, we're on the hook for the bill, but we gotta find out the town roads, where our, how far we have from the center lines for our right of ways.
Right.
Because
Because
they're
when
all,
you get off on some of the back roads, the right of ways get a lot smaller.
I mean, Wings Mills Road it varies.
Yeah.
Some areas it's wider than others, like we're on mine, it's really to the edge of the road.
Okay, so Lorna, you'll check into what the.
I
right
will,
is.
I'll get a hold of Jason. I don't know who at the state to contact. DOT.
On the town road, so,
Right, but I'm looking for the,
yeah.
That's no county roads, so I'm sure.
I'm looking for,
that right of way
right,
would be
how many
county road
feet
right
from
away.
the center line? Are we
Which isn't a very wide right of way.
Okay, well,
Maybe Dave Allen could tell you who to talk to.
He knows everything. Fine.
Well, he could at least tell you who to talk to.
Yes, I agree,
Excuse me, where?
DOT.
Yeah.
The other place you may be able to determine to have some guidance for it might be Katie's golf.
Oh,
They do a lot
yeah,
of mapping and everything.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll make a note to reach out to both.
If Mary was still on here, Mary could probably tell you off her deed too.
That was the other part I was thinking about.
If you ask Mary what it states on her deed, that may tell you exactly what it is, because on my deed, because we had with DOT had took property from us by ultimate domain when they paved the road, but they didn't really take enough.
It's a complicated thing.
It is.
You know, just because short version, right? Today, where pavement is, isn't exactly where right of way is.
Exactly.
That's the
I
short.
think some of them stuff got shifted.
right. Okay, so Lorna, you'll look into that and think about this.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else on the warrant number 22, the AIM? No? Okay. Removed,
Yes,
Second.
moved and
moved
seconded.
and seconded. Okay, all in favor, Peter,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Melanie?
She lost her.
Well,
She
Okay.
said she was having some.
Oh, okay, well, I'll vote
connection
yes,
issues.
so we have four, one in favor, one temporarily absent. Okay, I move that we approve payroll warrant 23 in the amount of $20,096 and 56 cents.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, Peter,
yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
I'll vote yes, 4 yeses. Not absent. I move that we approve the BMV warrant in the amount of $3,066.80.
Second.
All in favor, Peter,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Oh, Melanie, you're back. You want to vote on that?
There she is.
Yes, this is driving me nuts. It keeps throwing me out and then I have to wait until it finally reconnects, but yes.
Okay, we were on the BMV warrant 24.
Yes, I gathered that. As soon as it came back, I was like, dang it.
Okay, great. Okay. Town managers report.
So the comprehensive planning committee meets this week, tomorrow, actually. The fire department RFP, as approved at your February 6th meeting, went out to 14 different, potential bidders. The audit services RFP as approved at your last board meeting went out to 9 different potential bidders. I attended the select board candidate forum Monday, February 12th. I think you zoomed in on that too.
Yeah.
Yep. Maine Department of Transportation is getting pricing for speed signs that could be placed south of the town office and north of Christie's. You mentioned that at the last meeting. They will not pay for and install them, but would approve them if the town would like to purchase, install, and maintain. The cost, he did get back to me, the cost for 2 signs would be an estimated 2602 unit cost, shipping of $250 each, and software to run $900 each. That puts the estimated cost of 2 units at $7,500 plus or minus plus installation. We had a site visit for water quality at the Center for All Seasons on February 12th. They're switching testing from 1 test per week to 2, and they did not give a reason. So every Monday and Thursday.
Lorna,
Bruce.
Can I-
Yes, I'm sorry.
yeah, can I interrupt quickly? Can we ask the state why we're being obligated now for 2 tests per week? We
Yes,
should-
I can reach out, Brian, I think is his last
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Do you remember his first? Darren,
Darren, yeah.
Darren Brand. Yes, I'll make a note to email him, Melanie.
Yeah, thanks. Because, I mean, it's gonna cost us extra and we budgeted for 1 test per week.
Correct.
So,
Actually, that test is a test that Corey does.
So we
Right.
don't have to,
Yeah, we don't have to ship that one out. That's a test that Corey does in how, right at the center.
but he's still wanting 2 tests a week. I wonder why.
I'm assuming because he had a hard time getting, the adjustment of it, and what it was is we had a tank failure.
Oh, right.
So that's been addressed and taken care of, so,
Okay. But I'll ask him.
yeah.
And that could be the reason.
Yeah,
okay,
So Bruce will be replacing the pressure tank, so you've already done that.
that's all done, it's all
Okay, good.
completed and done to his specifications. He wanted some things put on there, and that's been done.
Good. The well cover under the sidewalk in the front will get cleaned and painted this summer. And the chlorination test was great. It's not the chlorination test, is it? The twice a week?
I believe it is.
Isn't it? Interesting. We should begin thinking about setting a summer residence meeting date. Christian Bishop will be meeting with you to review the town meeting warrant, originally thinking the March 5 meeting would work. That is primary voting day. The board may want to consider moving, which you've already discussed and done. March 5, the state of Maine will be making a presentation. I'll have to get a hold of them. SHAPE, they're gonna present to the Fire and Rescue Department for qualifying for the SHAPE program. They're gonna do that at that first meeting in March. CISA has issued their reports for both the town office and Center for All Seasons. And those are confidential reports, so I've given you, I made hard copies. It's the white with the blue on your desk. Those confidential reports were provided to you for review. I sent those out via email. And then hard copies. We should address some of the items mentioned in the upcoming months. Belgrade Fire and Rescue will be hosting Super Sunday again this year on March 10 for mandatory safety training of all employees. Training will begin at 8 o'clock at the Lakes Fire Station. RSU 18 superintendent will tentatively be at your April 16 meeting to go over the budget and answer questions from the board. We are checking into the cost to send out postcards to residents who may have unregistered dogs. I think you had mentioned that, that would be helpful. The transfer station committee will meet February 21, also tomorrow. They were moved from the 12th due to the candidate forum. The Lakes and Natural Resources Committee will meet again this month to begin discussion on water quality in our lakes. They have scheduled this meeting for February 27th at 3:30. I attended health officer training, continuing ed last week. rec keys, it has become increasingly difficult to multitask being short-staffed in the front office, to follow up and keep track of recreation rental keys. The front office has asked to give this responsibility back to the recreation department, which also makes it easier for those renting, as they can do everything in one place. Absentee ballots for annual town meeting referendum questions are now available. We've received $50,735.15 of the tax stabilization reimbursement and are awaiting the remainder due, which is $39,863.33. Ken and I met with Pete from Waste Management this morning. Actually, I had Mary sit in on that as well. Pete from Waste Management to discuss the current contract, which expires June 30. The transfer station committee is reviewing the previous RFP. They're doing that. They're meeting, I believe, tomorrow night. And Ken has those numbers that Pete gave us today to share with the committee, so you all can discuss that. We are requesting the transfer station be closed the 16th so that employees may attend town meeting, and you've already discussed that.
Only question I have, the fire and rescue training, does that do safety training for our only fire and rescue volunteers, or
It's
does it
all
also include
employees.
the whole town?
Includes all of the town.
Because a lot of the stuff we do is, it's like everybody has to do A, B, and C, but then different departments have to do X, Y, and Z.
I guess my concern is that we make sure all of our employees have CPR training.
Oh, yeah, which they aren't doing that this
This
year.
year, we did it last year,
Right.
and we did the same invitation last year, but yes, they should
So
be.
we should look
We
at,
have AEDs in every building, so we should.
well, we have AEDs, and the other thing, right now, we can't get the mannequins, because we were doing some CPR training, the fire department did 2 trainings, and we used the church, we did like 50 people. And the Kennebec Valley EMA now isn't letting them use the equipment, so that's gonna get smoothed out. But I think probably in the next couple of months that'll be available, and I would suggest that we do, all employees should have CPR training. And included in that is AED training. So we'd have to, do it during the day. Steve Smith is one of the instructors. Danielle can also do it. I don't know if Travis is trained as an instructor.
Jeremy does.
Jeremy is too. Yeah, Jeremy and Steve have done the other 2, but I know at one point Danielle
Yeah,
did.
there's
So
several now.
just to keep
Dan
looking forward.
McKenzie's
Yeah, right.
certified, we just about all of them are certified.
Yeah, so that I think everyone, our employees should know. If a cemetery and someone drops, someone needs to know what to do. I mean, someone's at the transfer station and
Yeah.
we need to have people
I mean,
available to know what to do.
Yeah.
So,
No, the other thing, we really need staff, have been put in the town office in most of these places. Unfortunately, I hate doing it, but Narcan.
Yep,
Oh,
I was gonna-
Basic instructions on that.
So, yeah, so you need to talk to Travis on that, because we have to do something, we have a new policy we have to do through Maine EMS. So then maybe some available through that, or if not, you can contact Tim Pay and he can set it up.
yeah. So anyway, just.
I was saying the same
Future
thing.
list.
Dan.
They said, that, people having babies at Franklin Memorial get sent home in their bag.
With Narcan?
Yeah, Narcan is everywhere. now.
It's a new thing,
Because you might know someone.
right?
That into the, just,
Yes,
I've got a question before we move on to anything else.
okay.
We talked about the paperwork and the computer work that needs to be done, the Sexton's been doing.
Mhm.
How is that coming?
I haven't had any updates this week.
Where else has he been working? Because he should be strictly doing stuff for the cemetery.
He was hired as sexton, cemetery and maintenance.
Well, no, he isn't. Because I'm looking at the the draft job description. And it has nothing about that.
The final. The final, when he was hired as cemetery and, facilities maintenance.
Then where is all this pay coming? Because from what I understand, it's all coming out of the cemetery.
It does come out of cemetery, I believe.
Bruce,
So as a board of four, as a cemetery, one of the cemetery committees, and as one of the budget committees, we sat at town meeting last year and at meetings here, public meetings here, and we told the taxpayers that was not gonna be another facility maintenance position. That was gonna be a cemetery position only. Only time it'd be going to facility is for snow removal and in emergency cases. And it's not being done that way.
We're gonna have to figure this out because if it's being paid to go to the other cemetery and half the time or more it's being used for facility maintenance, that something needs to change.
Do we not want him, helping facilities maintenance? He was hired for that.
See,
I thought he was hired for half and half, half facilities maintenance and half.
That is what we told the taxpayers at town meeting. You go back to the minutes of the town meeting and it's right in there.
And even if that ends up finally being what was top hired, I just wanna make sure half the time, at least half the time, and only half his pay is coming out of the cemeteries. The rest of it should come, if you're using a half of facility maintenance, then it needs to come out of facility maintenance.
Then you guys as a board at town meeting need to step up and say, I'm sorry, taxpayers, but we changed our mind after town meeting. And now we split that position in the 50-50 position that we told you guys as taxpayers that we are not.
I'm thinking at town meeting, we did not specifically put the
The question
text
came,
in, it was in part of it was in the warrant article.
it was in the big article and then the question got brought up
Okay.
about it. And it was answered, and then so the question was answered. And I can't remember who it was, but it may have been. I'm gonna say name who asked the question, because I think I know who asked the question, but I'm going, you'd have to go back and get it, so the town meeting to find out who asked the question. The question was asked, and then it was asked by multiple people over and over. Is this just a bona fide facility maintenance position, or is this a true full-time cemetery position? And the question was answered, and I was one of them that answered it. This is a full-time cemetery position. And I can tell you, I will speak up at town meeting. And I'll be upfront and honest. As of right now, if it's gonna go that way, when it comes to a cemetery budget, I'm gonna ask to amend it. I'm gonna ask to amend to cut that budget, payroll budget in half. If it's gonna be continue the way it's gonna be. So the taxpayers are known that that is not a full-time cemetery position.
Then the position would have to go, and halftime would have to go to facilities maintenance if we need. If we need a person to be doing both.
Right.
But yet, there you go. We told the taxpayers that we needed that position to get the paperwork caught up and this and that, and it can't get caught up when they're doing facility maintenance in the summer, winter time, excuse me.
And is that custodian person working the rest of the hours with facility maintenance? Because that's what he or she, whoever we had, was hired to, because I'm looking at that job description too.
He was, custodial, but facilities maintenance. He does anything that's needed.
Okay.
He routinely is in here, he does a wonderful job in here cleaning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're not done a good job.
He's doing a very good.
I know that
Yeah.
one specifically in the job description.
Right.
Yeah, Melanie has a question. Melanie?
Yeah, I seem to recall after town meeting, Sarah Langette put a very big email out to the board asking for clarification. Because she was also one of the people who answered that question at town meeting and was very worried that she had been led to believe that it was a full-time assistant sexton position, and that that's how it was presented during the budget, and that's how it was presented to the board. But that after town meeting, and I believe, if I recall her email correctly, it said that the question had come up during the budget process for a half and half position, and that it was declined. And that the board agreed to move forward a full-time assistant sexton to clean up the backlog of burials and records. So I don't recall the board ever deciding that that position would not be a full-time sexton. I specifically remember asking for the job descriptions to be clarified that this was not a maintenance position. So, because if you remember when we first had the job description, it listed like 3 different things and they were kind of tucked together, and I asked for them to be pulled apart and separated so that it was clear. So what we budgeted for and what we told the taxpayers, that it was a full-time assistant sexton, not a part-time assistant sexton in facilities maintenance, because that was the whole reason that we agreed to add a full-time position with benefits to the town.
Well, we should be able to go back and look at the minutes
Right.
of town meeting
Yes.
and look at minutes from our discussions, and then the job description that was presented when
Right.
the person was hired,
Yes.
when Kevin was hired.
Yes.
So I think that's something
I
that
think we need to get it straightened
we
out.
can just do a little research.
And Mike Hino was on the interview board.
I just don't, what we approved as a cemetery committee for a job description is not what the job description is now.
We don't have it in front of us, so.
I'm looking at
why don't we-
Sarah's email right now from back then. And it basically spells out that it's a full-time sexton, assistant sexton, because Corey is still sworn as the sexton.
Right.
Because he had to be, and the assistant sexton would fall under him, but it's a full-time position, so that Corey doesn't have to do that.
Correct.
Right.
That's how it was brought through the cemetery committee, and then through the budget committee, through the select board, and then to town meeting, and then now it's not happening.
To go back to the minutes.
Okay, well, let's go back to the minutes and back to the documentation, and we can look at it again.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? We do have a couple of things in executive session.
You don't need me.
Yes, for one.
Oh,
Yeah. Watch out, connectors.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good night, thanks. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's see. I move that we exit regular session at 8:37 PM.
Second.
All in favor, Peter?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Did we lose Miller?
There's 11:09.
Okay, I'll vote yes. So 4 of us voting to exit regular session. I move that we enter executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A personnel matter at 8:37.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Carol?
Yeah.
Dan?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, so 4 yeses. We'll hope Melanie can come back.
So are we recording?
No,
No. Okay. So I move we enter regular session at 10:03.
A second?
9:59 p.m.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay. The board agreed to engage a third-party investigator regarding the complaint. That's the action that was taken.
then
No.
I move we
Adjourn.
adjourn at 10:03.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I'm gonna stop.
Right.
Sure, I'm gonna stop. Yes.